You are what you share on the web. So not just teaching kids to read web content, to be able to say, is this website valid or reliable? It's teaching them to create what I call wow content, worthy of the world.
Angela Maiers is no stranger to communications and social technologies. On her website alone, angelamaiers.com, she offers 12 different ways to connect with her, above and beyond just emails and phone numbers. Angela's blog was voted among the top 50 education innovators by ecollegefinders.org. She also guest blogs for a number of publications, including Education Week and Inc. Think Tank. It's a little hard to define exactly what Angela does. She works within the fields of instructional coaching, research, writing, publishing, and corporate training. She's also the founder and president of her own education consulting firm, Maiers Education Services. This week on the Learning Matters podcast, she discusses topics as varied as her different professional hats: how students and teachers need to be thinking about the web, how technology has changed the game in education, and what a 21st century classroom should look like. I'm Rachel Wettenstein of Learning Matters. We hope you enjoy this edition of the podcast, and make sure to stick around afterwards for some info on what's coming up. Can you give me a couple of examples of technological tools in school that you consider to just be a necessity right now?
The first one is Skype, as it's the quickest and simplest way to bring the outside world in and also give our kids a chance to contribute and collaborate and communicate in real time with individuals around the globe. And to do that with video is so much different than just even doing it through Twitter or doing it through a collaborative Google Doc, because there's something about seeing that person and being able to talk with that person that builds the kind of relationship that just, digital communication can't do. So I think Skype has tremendous potential for individuals and for classrooms. There's an entire network called the Skype Classroom that connects teachers for longer projects, not just to have like an expert come in or, an individual, connect to someone that they already know in the community, but actually can facilitate long-term collaboration and long-term projects where a teacher could say on the Skype Classroom Network, which is the platform that actually connects the classroom here with the classroom across the world on a specific project. So I used the Skype Classroom in a global project I was doing for literacy, and we connected almost 600 classrooms across the world just with teachers signing up just to read a story out loud to each other on a certain day to celebrate world literacy. So it has amazing potential, and it's a free, really simple technology that absolutely transforms learning and transforms what's possible. You can't do what's possible without a technology like that. And then I would say it's really hard to get it down to, it's like asking you to decide between, would you rather have a pencil or a pen, because they both are really significant. They both do similar things, but sometimes you need a pencil, sometimes you need a pen. So I would say a blogging platform is really important as well. So, or just a social sharing platform, whether that be a chance to blog or a chance to share photos or a chance to share information back and forth where you actually can communicate, where you're having conversation. You're not just publishing something where there's a chance to have interaction around it, whether it be a comment or whether it's to add a contribution or it's to actually connect and take the conversation to a different level. So some collaborative platform like a blog or, a Google Doc, but it's not as powerful as a blog.
I know you speak a lot about digital literacy. I feel like oftentimes students know more about technology than their teachers or instructors. What do you think the best way is to get everyone on the same playing field?
I think that there's a couple things with that perception, because I think that's a really accurate perception with both the educational community and the broader community, where this myth of digital natives is out there. And with the platforms and the tools changing so exponentially quick, that really we are all newly literate. And by literacy, I mean the ability to understand and communicate within this certain culture or platform. So what I think kids are is I think kids are tech comfy. They're not tech savvy, or they're digitally comfy, but they're not digitally savvy. And there's a really big difference, is that to be really savvy and fluent in this space, it requires more than being comfortable. Like if you ask teenagers, are they comfortable behind the wheel of a car? They'd be like, absolutely. They can't wait to get behind the wheel, and they may have seen people drive for 20 years, but I would not put them in the middle of downtown New York City because they don't have that savviness and fluency comes only from experience. So unless you had experience using these platforms to communicate and to connect and to contribute powerful content, then comfortability just, gets you there. But it doesn't get you to be an outstanding contributing member of that community. So digital literacy is a critical foundation for every individual on the web. It doesn't matter how fluent you were in language, if you think about it from a language perspective. It doesn't matter if you lived your whole life in a community and were fluent. The second you change communities, you're learning that language all over. So a really simple example is you can be really fluent in the United States and 3 seconds later cross the border into Canada and every sign is in French. And you have to decide, am I going to just visit this community? If that's the case, to learn the basics. You have to just learn how to say hello and how to ask for directions. But if you're going to sustain yourself and you say, I want to live in this community and I want to be a contributing member in this community, you need to be really deeply fluent in that language to be an influencer. And so that's what we have to help kids understand is which spaces are they going to be a part of the community, not just which spaces are they going to have access to. And that changes the level of commitment to digital literacy that you would help, because there's a whole different fluency with communities in Facebook than there are in Twitter and, in any other community offline.
How do you think education could get a better reputation in the U.S.?
I think so much of the talk in education is about testing and accountability and standardization. And their counterparts in the global space are talking about digital citizenship and about collaborating in a global space and about being a community, where the United States still is obsessing about content. This is the content, this is the standard, this is, what makes this a world-class school is participating with the world. And we do a lot of isolation and a lot about this is what, is important for kids to know and this is what is important for kids to do. But the emphasis is really what's important for our kids to be. And in terms of what they're going to need to be, they are not just, United States citizens, they are global citizens. And if we don't start taking a more active role in preparing not just simply digital citizens, but global citizens who understand how to communicate and collaborate and engage in compassionate conversations with individuals that are not from the United States, that's going to be our competitive advantage, to see how well not only we work against someone, but how well we work with someone. That would help us tell a different story when we stop obsessing about what content we're going to cover and start talking about what kinds of contributions can come from the kinds of genius that are in our classrooms right now.
Can you paint me a picture of what you think the 21st century classroom looks like?
Absolutely. And this picture isn't like an idealistic picture of just what, I wish it to be. It's based on fundamental trends in the world and in the web. And I think the best example of what those trends are laid out to be for schools is in the K-12 Horizon Report. And the Horizon Report really captures sort of that trend spotting of what does the next 1 year to 5 years to 10 years look like in the evolution of the context of learning, and not just the evolution of the tools. And so if you look at those trends, both from an educational vantage point and from a world social media, social business vantage point, it's really significant. The 21st century will be defined by the contribution you make. So I break down, when I walk into a school, if I'm doing an audit, for example, where I'm going into every classroom and looking at every level at technology integration, what I'm looking at beyond what tools are they using, who's got laptops and who's got netbooks and who's got iPads, I'm really basing it on the C's. So when I look at 20th century or learning that's been good since the beginning of time, those C's have to do with content. So high quality content, they have to do with curriculum. They have to do with consuming curriculum. You want kids to be able to think critically and to be able to analyze and evaluate. They have to do with, covering and what's appropriate to be covered and what's appropriate to be consumed and remembered. Those are not bad things. But if we are using technology around any of those C's, nothing transformative is accomplished. If we're using technology to find new ways to deliver content or to find new ways to bring, more exciting content in, or if it's about ways to organize curriculum better, those are still not game-changing. The game-changing C's that are represented in the Horizon Report and in the world have to do with this set of C's, contributions. You are what you share on the web. So not just teaching kids to read web content, to be able to say, is this website valid or reliable? It's teaching them to create what I call wow content, worthy of the world. And that means that if you make a contribution, because in the web anybody can make a contribution really simply with Web 2.0 tools. The key is, will your contribution be noticed? Will it be valued? Will it be valued? And content that's worthy of the world has very specific characteristics. That content is creative, it is curated, meaning it's organized and synthesized for your community to be able to manage easily. It is compassionate and empathetic. It's collaborative. It's spreadable and shareable. You actually create the content in a form so that it will spread quickly. And it is sourced because your content in real time is driven by the immediate and real-time feedback you get from your community. So it's community focused, where we're not building those capacities in the conversations we're having with kids right now. Because everything about the web is about how do I garner attention to my message, to my content, to my cause, to my product. And if you do not understand how content across the web travels, how it spreads, how it's ranked, how it's calculated, the velocity in which it can become significant, those are the game-changing things. Teaching kids to create incredible content that's worthy of the world, teaching them to create content that is compelling and creative, that can garner credibility in a global space. And that the amazing thing about the web is a 5-year-old can garner that kind of attention, in the same leveling playing field as a company can. And that's the beautiful thing. If you've got great content that fits this criteria, then it doesn't matter what your background is. You have potential to really make your mark. You have a potential to leave a legacy. And that's extraordinary. And that's the transformative part of the web. And that's where the trends of mobile and the trends of ubiquitous computing and the trends of collaboration and communication are important, because it's very rare that you can create content compelling enough by yourself, that you need to surround yourself with amazing, insightful people from multiple perspectives and diverse backgrounds to help you make your content spread across multiple platforms and through multiple communities. And learners have the power to do that, but you have to be really, really invested in the community. So you have to know about networks, and you have to know about how to get into a community and build a community and sustain a community. And those C's, community, collaboration, contribution, creation, those are the game-changing, skill sets. And that's what I define when I walk into a classroom. I look at what are the learners doing, and I think about what C's or what are the verbs that I would attach to that. And if they're just simply engaging with content or consuming it or covering some, unit, or, if they're not doing the other realm of C's, then we're not really transforming a whole lot. If you lead with contributions that are creative and community-driven, then the other C's take care of themselves, because you can't do that if you can't write well, if you haven't listened well, if you haven't, played well, if you haven't read well, and you haven't, participated well. All of that is what feeds your both ability, but also your inclination to write incredibly powerful content. It's the comments on my blog, and it's the feedback that I get from my community that makes me go, oh my gosh, I up my game every single time I'm on the web, because my work matters to people. And when you give kids an audience, a real audience, and you give them a chance to say your voice matters, you can make a difference and you can make a change. They work there's nothing that they won't do. That's the real transformative power, is to give kids an audience, to give them a community, and they need it.
Big thanks to Angela Maiers for taking the time to be a part of this ongoing conversation. If you'd like more information on Angela, you can visit the podcast section of the Learning Matters website at learningmatters.tv. Next week on the podcast series, our web producer Ted Bauer will speak with Dr. Gilman Whiting, a professor from Vanderbilt University. They'll be discussing the achievement gap in American schools and some models to overcome it. And of course, thanks to those who made this report possible: Carnegie Corporation of New York, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation, the Wallace Foundation, the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, and the Grade Level Reading Fund of the Tides Foundation. Thanks again for listening, and have a wonderful day.